Well, all right, that was pretty quick. I did a video last night talking about this ridiculous situation where Sony said that if you bought a digital game after, was it March of this year, that there was a good chance that if you didn't log on to the internet in 30 days that you would lose the ability to play your game. I mean, that's complete nonsense, right? Well, now Sony is supposedly denying that this is the case, even though people have looked into it and they said, no, this absolutely is the case, Sony. What you doing here? So let's talk about the update. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. This is Kneon, this is CLOWNFISH TV, and if this is true, this is one of the biggest piles of horse shit in video game history. If you buy a video game and you can't play that game because you're not online, even games that are basically offline games, right? And this is one of the biggest problems right now in gaming is that everything has to be online. Everything has to connect to the hive mind. I miss the days of buying the cartridge from the KB Toys and plugging it into your Nintendo and you owned it and you could sell it at a garage sale or get ripped off at Electronics Boutique or whatever you wanted to do, right? So yeah, this is coming from Vice. They looked into it, but they don't seem to believe Sony either. PS5 30-day DRM confirmed by PlayStation support, but Sony denies it. All right, so PlayStation support appears to confirm the PS5 DRM on digital games is real. However, Sony is also seemingly denying it's a new policy change. Well, maybe we just weren't paying attention. Maybe they're turning up the temperature in the pot and we just haven't paid attention. Are you paying attention? You don't own your games, guys. PlayStation support has seemingly confirmed that PS5 digital games now have a 30-day online check-in DRM. Okay, according to the reports, new PlayStation 5 titles bought after April 2026 will now crash and become unplayable if you don't connect to the internet. However, Sony also appears to be denying its new policy and won't confirm whether it's a mistake or not. PlayStation support seemingly confirms the PS5 DRM. Okay, so last week, Vice said they reported on a rumor that PS5 digital games now have a new DRM restriction added to them. Specifically, reports claim that PS5 titles bought digitally after mid-April now have a 30-day countdown timer added to them. I heard it was the end of March, but you know. Players who fail to connect to the internet within that limit would then be blocked from accessing their game, which should be illegal. If you bought a game, unless it's a live service game, if you bought that game, you should own that game. I'm sorry. You bought that game, you should own that game. However, the rumor might just have been confirmed by PlayStation support. Yeah, it looked like an AI chatbot or something. According to many players who have tried contacting Sony over at PlayStation support is now officially acknowledging it exists. In a screenshot that surfaced online, a PS5 support ticket outlines how the new DRM system works. This is what we talked about yesterday. Thank you for your interest in the 30-day timer that is being applied to all new purchases, affected content, games purchased digitally after the March 2026 update. Offline functionality. If the console does not connect to the internet within 30 days, the license expires and the game may refuse to launch until a connection is restored. Primary console restrictions. Setting a console as primary does not bypass this 30-day requirement. 30-day is a valid period and is not a sign of an account restriction or anything like that. Although it should be pointed out, these responses are likely from the AI chatbot. Yes. Ask it how to make pizza. While it's concerning that official PlayStation support is seemingly telling customers this is in fact real. It could also be a mistake or a generic automated message. All right, so Sony support agents deny a 30-day PS5 DRM policy. Okay, following the PlayStation support drama, several players managed to get in contact with actual living, breathing human employees from Sony. Extra points if they're from this country. According to these PS5 support agents, Sony is claiming it has not implemented PS5 DRM as an official policy. Well, okay, so here's the... Wow, I don't know. This is coming from, let's see, Michael Shord from X. Because this is a bot response, it's being led to the response. Live agents have confirmed it's not a new DRM policy. So Does It Play says, it is a new DRM that hasn't been implemented, though. Support is clueless. Yeah, so this is the thing. when you've got grunt employees, a lot of times they're not aware of changes. I've gone round and round with customer service people before, and I'm like, hey, this new thing I read on the internet that came from your official blog, what's up with that? And they're like, I have no idea. What are you talking about? Well, go to your own damn company blog and you can see. So what's going on? I don't know. Does not compute. So I don't know. Michael said 99% of people being unaffected means it's not a new DRM. A new DRM requires an update, terms of service, which does not exist. And that's what people were like, what the hell is going on here? That they snuck a fast one that they can lock your games. This happened before and it was fixed. You confirmed 2 days ago inside sources, confirmed to you that it's unintentional. Does it place as part of what happened was unintentional. The newly implemented DRM in March is very much on purpose. No idea where you pulled that percentage from. On principle, everyone can be affected. It just only applies to purchases past the implementation of the new DRM. And it seems to be, I mean, from what I remember yesterday, is a case-by-case basis. It's not every game. Like Pragmata worked fine, apparently. They were testing it, and it worked fine. But Vampire Crawlers of all games did not work. Like, that game's like an $8 game. It's like, how come Pragmata? Maybe they're looking at the price. Maybe they're like, hey, you paid a lot more money for Pragmata. So, yeah, it's like a $60 game versus like an $8 or $10 game, right? I don't know. This sounds very much to me like what Nintendo's doing with their virtual game cards, which I've talked about this before at length. It really pisses me off. And then that whole situation between that and the endless lawsuits has really soured me on Nintendo as a brand. Like, I love Nintendo games. I love, for the most part, Nintendo products. But the insanity around the Pal World situation, the insanity of the Pokemon stands, Nintendo stands they're right up there with the cartoon stands now. And also just them like suing everybody for everything. I mean, it's crazy. And then that whole virtual card bullshit, which I talked to you guys about that. We had power outage. It was in the other episode. Power outage. I couldn't connect to the internet. I probably have 100 Switch games, physical Switch games, 200 physical Switch. I know there's a lot. We've been collecting them for almost a decade now. There's a lot. I have a lot of physical Switch games, and I couldn't play most of them because I didn't have an internet connection. It wanted to do that virtual card thing, be like, hey, this copy of this game is locked to your Switch. I'm like, that's bullshit. I bought the game. Why can't I play the game? You know what works? The Nintendo. You know why? You just plug the cartridge in. But I did not have the option of firing up like my N64 or anything like that. So I was very salty. So anyway, yeah, following the drama, this is what the PlayStation support agent, who is supposedly an actual human, hopefully in this country, but I doubt it. At this time, there is no requirement for players to re-authenticate their digital purchases every 30 days. If you bought a digital game in late March, you will still be able to access and play your game normally, even after 30 days has passed. But it's been confirmed by test. Yeah, Spawnwave, the YouTuber Spawnwave, verified that new PlayStation 5 digital games bought in April will now crash if the 30-day timer runs out without connecting to the internet. So it could just be a case of their support people not knowing what the hell's going on. In his April 27th video, he demonstrated this. An error message now pops up after the timer runs out. Can't use the content. Can't connect to the server to verify your license. Interestingly, it appears that not all PS5 games show the timer. Yeah, it is just certain games. However, players have still been able to trigger the crash and error messages after the 30-day period without connection running out. Let's see. Is PS5 digital DRM real, according to Vice? Game preservation site Does It Play reacted to the latest PS5 DRM update on X and wrote support response to the Sony DRM issue making rounds. None fully addressed the issue. Yes, there is a new DRM and there is a 30-day timer, but support doesn't fully acknowledge how bad the screw-up the situation is or why the DRM was even necessary. Zero word about the C-bomb. So it appears it's real, but Sony is lying. Actually, I think their support people just don't know what's going on. It's currently unclear whether Sony made a mistake or if it's new policy change. Oh, it's a mistake if they get caught. That's how these things always work, right? These big corporations make these major changes that negatively affect consumers. And, if they get caught, it was oopsie doopsie. That wasn't supposed to happen, when it was all by design the whole time. It's just, you weren't supposed to notice. You weren't supposed to notice, because most people will be like, oh, I need to log on to the internet to play my game because it's digital. They said it might also not be impacting all players. Regardless, the fact that such a DRM system even exists in the first place is concerning. Yes, many PlayStation fans have since accused Sony of adopting the deeply unpopular, always online Xbox One DRM from 2013. Yes, people are like, yeah, this is a very Microsoft move by them. At the time of writing, Sony PlayStation as a company has not released an official statement on the PS5 DRM. While it appears to be active for some players, we're still left in the dark. Whether this is intentional or not, only time will tell. Only time will tell, guys. I think it's intentional. I think they got busted. They might walk it back, but I think this is where everything is going. Everything points to you not owning your games. They're even saying the quiet part out loud. Ask Ubisoft. You don't own your games. Even if you buy them physically, the damn game is not even on the cartridge. Right? I mean, they want you to rent your games. They want you to pay monthly. The end goal eventually is Netflix. And I know they've tried streaming game services and they've crashed and burned. We talked about Luna is shutting down or whatever, and Google Stadia and that whole thing. But eventually Sony and or Microsoft, they want you to subscribe monthly for the privilege of playing games that you probably already bought. Oh, you paid $50 for this game. Oh, you got to pay another $20 a month forever if you want to actually play it. That's where I think things are going to go. They want a subscription model, because if you buy a game, especially since people aren't buying new games now, they're not buying new AAA games. If you buy it once and you play that game forever, well, guess what? Sony doesn't get any more of your money. You bought that game 10 years ago and you're still playing it? Well, we have to find a way to monetize you. It's just like Dungeons and Dragons. I've talked about this in other episodes. D&D now, they want everybody to sign up for and pay for D&D Beyond, because we can't have you buying books, or using books that you bought 10 or 15 years ago. No. We have to monetize you every month. Every month, guys. That's what they want. This is why I think it's more important than ever to really look at going back to physical games that are offline. This is why I think retro games are so popular now. And I'm down for that. I think this is a big part of why the AAA gaming scene is collapsing. People are they're over it. They're done. Right? $1,000 to have to shell out how many bucks a month just to be able to play the games you already paid for? That's idiotic, right? So I'm going to wrap this up, guys. What do you think? Let me know. Please subscribe. We will talk later.